All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insanely Air 13, as we are preparing to get underway here for the 8th race of SEC's Enduro Championship that has been running throughout the year. Today, we're going to be going to Catalunya. Initially, this was anticipated to be a different event. However, due to some voting and some schedule reorganization after the cancellation of Le Mans a few months ago, a vote went up, putting up this circuit against the Nürburgring GP circuit. It was a tight vote, but in the end, it ended up going in Catalunya's favor. Personally, I'm a little bit biased. I think this is a great choice because the series was already anticipated to run at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and I feel that going to Nürburgring twice, even if it's on two radically different layouts, is kind of a waste. But anyways, real quickly, let's look at some of the drivers who will be running in today's event. ESV Green has abandoned the Mustang entry. I'm not really sure how these rules are supposed to work out. You're supposed to be required to stick with one car for 3 events, but ESV Green has only spent 1 week in the Mustang before swapping to the Dodge Viper. My guess is that ESV Green has realized that the Dodge Viper, it has massively superior tire life because it does not have nearly as high of a top speed, so it's not scrubbing its front tires under braking or turning nearly as much. So ESV Green is in the Viper. Its race is almost guaranteed to be an ESV walk-off just because they are in the Dodge Viper. NDL Warner is in the number 290 HYR Acura. VER Bruno is going to be starting on pole position, if I remember correctly. He has got the number 94 Corvette. EMC Bunter is one of only 2 entries in the Mustang. Mustang has become completely unpopular now. We're down to only having 2 Mustang entries in today's event. NWR Arkina is in the number 45 Mercedes. ZR Chrysalid is back in the number 44 Audi. NWR Origin is back in the 02 Corvette. Hilfiger is in the other Mustang in this event, in the HYR number 31. AFZ Next is in the Dodge Viper. From that angle, I can't really see the number. I think it's 625. VER Cartana is in the 25 VER Corvette, the other VER Corvette. F1R Papraki is in the 101 Viper. NDL Hot Dog continues to be one of the representing drivers and the only Ferrari in the field, in that number 50 Team Noodle Ferrari. NDL Uzora is in the 420 Aston Martin Vantage. NDL Stock Ash is going to be in the 260 Team Noodle machine. ZR Derluki is in the McLaren, but for some reason the game refuses to load the paint scheme whatsoever. I hope that gets fixed once we load onto the circuit. That's me, ignore me. NDL Drewski is in the number 51 BMW M8. NDL CJ, sometimes called Circle Jerk, is in the number 79 Acura NSX. And PTG Neb has made a very interesting swap. He is going to be running, and what I believe is only his second start in this season. He is going to be in the 2-3 Ferrari. And those are 18 drivers. We are anticipated to have 19 stars, so we may be missing 1 driver right now. And that is likely the reason why we are currently about 8 minutes behind schedule. So I do have to ask for you to just kind of understand and kind of deal with the fact that these kinds of delays just happen once you start getting tour officials involved in non-tour events. Real quickly, let's go ahead and take a quick look here at the point standings as they are right now. Okay, it looks like the point standings sheet has actually been properly updated. And now I don't have to try and pick my way through it. So I do say thank you very much to whoever it was that fixed it. It looks like it's NDL Cavatro who has just joined in. Cavatro, I believe, is another one of the drivers who runs in the Acura. Yes, he's going to be in the Acura today. I don't see his scheme yet. Hopefully that will load in once we're on track. Real quickly in the championship, this is what it's looking like right now. Leading the championship at the moment with 267 points is the team that is NDL Black Pearl. They have Cavatro, NDL Togue, and NDL Avocado. They are 47 points ahead of a tie for second between the NDL Lobster and NDL Rosso Corsa teams. Lobster has Beats, Wara, and CJ on the team. Rosso Corsa is Hot Dog, Dindu, and Micro. Fourth is ESV. That is ESV Green, ESV Carts, and ESV Pipes. I'm more than a little bit confused as to how exactly this championship is supposed to work out, because I was under a lot of impressions, but the ESV team continues to break every impression I had, and I'll talk more about that later in the series. Fifth in the championship right now is another NDL team, is NDL Oil Slick. They have Cosmic, Daniel, and Drewski on their team. They're at a very distant 178 points. Sixth place with 161 points is the NWR Pink team. They have NWR Customs, NWR Shadow, and NWR Scorpio. Then seventh is the team Wascali Racing with P1R Alto, P1R Bunter, and P1R Habit. Eighth is NWR Blue. They have NWR Origin, Bradders, and Zula. Ninth is the Three Amigos with P1R Turk, P1R Coastal, and Beast Baller. And you know, every time I see Beast Baller, I can't help but think that Beast will never be ballin'. And then I saw him out in track, and he very much was. And then 10th, and I'm only going to go down to 10th right now. 10th is the TNR esports team of the three aces. That is TNR Surf, TNR Geekin, and TNR Zach XX. They have 106 points at this stage of the season. When it comes down to overall qualifying and bonus points, big thing that's kind of dragging the ESV team, although they are still very much an outside threat, the big thing that is dragging them back into contention is bonus points. They have 33 total bonus points across the entire season at this stage of the year. The next highest is second place, who is only 6 points ahead of them and has 9 fewer bonus points. Your leaders in the championship right now only have 15 bonus points. There's no one else who has double-digit bonus points yet at this stage of the event, as we are preparing to get lined up and underway here for the event. Okay, so PTG Little Caesar is saying, got it. All right. To Togue, thank you for the heads up with the Mustang adjustment. Then I do want to ask Togue, if you are still here and still able to communicate. There's supposed to be 3 different drivers throughout the 3 stints, or at least 2 drivers throughout the 3 stints. How'd that work out at Bathurst when ESV Green went and did all 3 stints solo? Is that rule a lot more flexible than we thought? Also, apparently, it was PTG Little Caesar's team. They withdrew their older entry, so this is actually their very first run. So this is the first time we'll see a second driver running in a Ferrari in one of these events here, as the field is currently getting set up and underway here at Catalunya. We're going to go ahead and try to knock out one of Twitch's mandatory ad breaks, and when we come back, we should be able to see the field getting lined up here at Catalunya. We'll be back shortly.
Tendréis acceso anticipado para interactuar con los pilotos y merchandising exclusivo.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya. The entire field is in single file formation right now. Normally they would pull over, but that has not been the case yet. No one is pulling over, so I guess we're going to go right from the green flag here. There will not be any wait time waiting for the field to get gathered up, as VER Bruno will take the field down to the green flag just as they come onto the straightaway coming out of turn 3. They're not even waiting to the bridge. It will be right as they cross the white line that you'll see on track here. And then we'll see them accelerate away in that Chevrolet. Again, we anticipate, as we go to the green flag, we anticipate that VER Bruno is going to lead quite a few of the laps early on, but ESV Green in the Dodge Viper is going to have a ridiculous advantage. The Dodges have a massive advantage across everything in this game. They typically are down in overall acceleration and top end, but that gives them a massive advantage when it comes to their tire life, and we are anticipating to see ESV Green easily walk off with this stint win. We are expecting the ESV team as a whole to win all 3 of these stints by at least a third of a lap, if not more, just off of the back of the ridiculous tire advantage that they are going to have throughout the run. But for right now, it is the VER team with VER Bruno in the number 94 out in front leading the way here, with Indiel Cavatra holding on in 3rd position. Indiel Hot Dog is buried back there in 5th. Indiel CJ is back there in 7th. Indiel Stock Ash is 8th. Drewski is 10th right now. And then Indiel Warner is way back in 15th position. We'll look over the points a little bit more later. But after this event, there will still be a race for the next few months. There will still be a race in October and a race in November. We're not quite sure what the rule is going to be for a race in December, but we know there's going to be a race for the next 2 months at least, so there is still mathematically a possibility for the ESV team to steal the championship back. And to be completely fair, the ESV team has been one of, if not the best team throughout the entire season, but they had missed a race at one point in the season, and then back at Silverstone very early in the year, they had a complete disconnect during one of their stints, which put their overall distance to second to last, which those two together have really been the main thing that has taken the ESV team out of championship contention. But there is a possibility if they win this event, which they are almost guaranteed to win this event, and then win the next few events, they might be able to steal. Second place seems almost guaranteed, but they might be able to steal the championship overall, and we'll look at that a little bit more later on in the event once everything is calmed down. But for the moment, it is Bruno, Green, Cavatra who have pulled out a nice little gap on the rest of the field. 4th place is Paprocki, who is in another Dodge Viper. Paprocki's going to be the interesting kind of meter stick. If we see Paprocki having a ridiculously strong run all day today, which I imagine will be the case, that will only further the argument that I would put forward that the Dodge Viper is just unbearably overpowered just because of its tire life advantage. And it's not the kind of thing where the officials can do anything about it. This is going to be a car that will be almost impossible to balance. The entire thing with the Dodge Viper, and it is not just the GT3 variant, it goes to every Dodge Viper variant that is in the game, is that the Dodge Viper generally does not have great straight line speed by itself, but it has great tire life. There's not really a good way to nerf the tire life in this thing and yet still make it anything remotely approaching reasonable for racing circumstances. As it is right now, the Dodge Viper really plays into what used to be the old Forza meta of don't ever race, just crank out lap times, because you will not be fast enough in the Dodge Viper to be making a lot of overtakes on sheer car ability. You will definitely be able to make some overtakes off the back of drivers ahead making mistakes or having a superior tire life. But generally speaking, the Dodge Viper is not going to be able to go deep enough into the corners to try and beat someone on run in. And while they do have the torque and acceleration on corner exit, they are not going to have enough straight line speed to really be able to take advantage of it. But as you can see, we're already only about 5 minutes into this event right now. And you can see that while Bruno is leading and is able to stretch away a little bit in a straight line, the draft is enough to keep ESV Green behind him. And as the event will continue to go on and Bruno's tires continue to fall off, we will see ESV Green walk by him with just about no issue whatsoever. Real quickly, let's look at the tire life. Right now, ESV Green is at 22.7% on that left rear. You look at Bruno, who is in the Corvette, which has been infamous for not being very good. He is actually at 23%, but is on the left front. So the Viper, at least Green's Viper, is very well balanced all around when it comes to tire life. And Bruno has a tire life pattern that is a little bit less even, and the tires that are wearing faster are wearing significantly faster right now. At the very back of the grid, PTG Neb has slid off in the Ferrari, and it's a frustrating time for him to get into the series with this and maybe only 2 or 3 races left in the season. They are locked into the Ferrari for 3 different events. And the big thing at the Ferrari is that the Ferrari GT3 cars have long been infamous for just being almost impossible to keep consistent. They have been fast, but they are very, very twitchy on handling. And it looks like the PTG team may be learning that the hard way now in racing circumstances. In qualifying, they may be good, but in racing, they do not seem to be nearly that good. We were on board with EMC Bunter, who is one of the 2 Mustangs running in the event, as he looks at fight ahead between Nex, Derluki, and Arkina. A little bit farther up the grid, this is Indiel Warner, who is right there behind Chrysalid in the lone Audi. Audi's actually had a lot of spots on the grid earlier in the season, but as the as it overall comes down, the Audi has just become gradually less and less popular as the season has gone on, as the balance has continued to get shifted and tweaked here and there. Uzora is having a bit of a fight here with Hilfiger just ahead of Drewski. And it looks like we're going to see the dive to the inside by the Mustang. And it looks like that will put the number 31 ahead of the number 420 machine here. This is a little bit farther up. This is Origin, Stockash, CJ, and Hot Dog all having a little bit of a 4-way stalking battle amongst each other. Then you get into this here. This is Pop Rocky and VER Cartana. Cartana was right under Pop Rocky early on, but now as the tires are starting to fall off, we are seeing that this Corvette is starting to lose ground. In fact, when we look at the tires right now, 33.6% on that left rear for the Corvette. For Pop Rocky, who is in the Viper, he is at 35% on the left front. So an inversion between these two of what we see at the head of the field. Then we have Indiel Cavatra. For some reason, we do not have his paint scheme loaded. We do apologize for that. But Cavatra is having a quietly steady run here in 3rd position, but doesn't seem to have anything right now to fight with our top 2. When we look at ESV Green here, he is at 36.2% tire life right now on that left front, and VER Bruno, who is just ahead of him, is at 37% on the left front. So it does seem like Bruno has backed off his pace just a little bit to try and salvage his tires. Again, this is an endurance event, so winning the stint helps, but the amount that you win by is going to be very important, and I have to wonder if maybe just trying to roll on trying to steal any kind of stint win, VR Bruno was going to go ahead and try to back up his corners as much as he can to try and push ESV Green back, try to compromise the overall total distance that Green is going to have at the end of the race, so that way maybe Bruno's other teammates in the later 2 stints can beat the ESV teammates in the later 2 stints of the event. Yes, I got the Spider. I blasted it with probably, a quarter of a cup of bleach, basically. My apartment smells ungodly bad like bleach right now. But it's dead. That thing was way too fucking big and in way too high traffic of zone. I couldn't just smash it. I would damage my Sega Dreamcast if I hit it where it was. And no, don't worry. I cleaned up the container that holds the Dreamcast, so that does not have bleach on it anymore. I made sure of that. I blasted the Spider until it struggled off. It's now dying in a corner. Jesus, it's still alive! I blasted you with how much bleach and you're still alive! All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya here. As we are about 13 minutes in, we are watching a spirited stalking battle right now between Bruno and Green at the head of the field. Cavatro is a distant third. Papraki is fourth. Cartana is fifth. NDL Hot Dog is sixth. NWR Origin and NDL Circle Jerk CJ are 7th and 8th as they're going by right now. 9th is NDL Stock Ash, and it's a gap back to Hilfiger in 10th. NDL Uzora is 11th. 12th is AFZ next. 13th is ZR Crislid. 14th is NDL Warner. 15th is NWR Arkina. 16th is ZR Derluki. 17th is EMC Bunter. 18th is PTG Neb. And Drewski has fallen back to last in 19th position here. And the spider is outside. I don't know if it's dead, but I blasted it with bleach again, and then I took a broom and I kicked that thing out the door, because thankfully it thought it was going to escape, and it tried to escape right next to my door. I do apologize for the unprofessionalism that was on display there. Here comes a move, or attempt of a move, but right now I think Green and Bruno both understand that this fight is going to be long-term, all about tire life management and who can stay out longer, and if you stay out longer, can you get a good overcut? And that's going to be what it comes down to. 62.7% on the tires right now, and looking at the amount of fuel left, Bruno is going to have to pit this time. You look at ESV Green, though, he is at 3.3%, so not a lot more when it comes to fuel, and his tires are still looking better. He is going around the long way, going to try and accelerate. I'll accelerate the Corvette up the hill. Cannot happen, but you can tell that the Corvette massively struggles because it's taking so much more speed into the corners. It has a significant amount of sliding and struggling under heavy tire wear, under braking. And here we go. Coming to the pits right now is Bruno and Green, and we're likely gonna... Oh! And they both wreck! And Green and Bruno both wreck as they came into the pits! You saw that! I saw that right here on stream! And both of our top two wreck into each other, come into the pit lane. This could have a massive knock-on effect. Now, reminder, in this series, in this series, there is no simulation damage, so that will have a knock-on effect, but not nearly as big. This also now hands the Stint lead over to NDL Cavatro for the moment. Cavatro, how much longer is he going to stay out? He is at 67% wear, but he's still got quite a bit of fuel, and you have to wonder, is he going to go ultra long on this set of tires to try and negate a pit stop, or try to maybe swap a Stint on medium tires later onto the soft tires? Second place now is NDL Hot Dog, and we look at the drivers who had been fighting, and as they came out of the pits after the accident, Bruno is back ahead of Green still. So there has not been a change here. Excuse me, I have to be really careful, I guess. This COVID bug is messing with my throat a lot more than I thought. Here we are, 3 different American manufacturers all on top of each other, but both the Corvette and the Viper will clear the Mustang without any issue whatsoever. Bruno holding station over Green. The game seems to think that Green is taking it from Bruno for a moment there, but Green now realized that he may not be able to just beat Bruno on pit lane, trying to stay out a lap or two, because while he has a tire advantage, it does not seem to be enough to let him just outright destroy him by staying out an extra lap. They are not the Viper team is not dealing with as much of a massive tire advantage as they are used to. They are still gaining a advantage, but it's not as much as you normally would see. And great job on Bruno by setting that McLaren right in position to be a bit of a pick, is really holding up Green. Green trapped on the outside. He'll have the torque. He'll be able to power out. You can see how quickly he accelerates out of the corners. Nice big tires and a lot of torque in that, I believe, is a 10-cylinder engine here. And immediately he is right back on Bruno's rear bumper. He goes a little bit wide. He's going to try and get a draft off this lapped car. Bruno's going to go to the inside, and they are going to clear Derlucchi. At least one of them clears Derlucchi. It's going to be a little bit harder for Green to clear Derlucchi. Now he looks to the inside. He's going to brake lane, try and go for a deep dive. No, he's going to hold back. He's going to be a little bit more cautious. He sees that the Corvette is still being held up by the Acura, and now they both complete the overtake on Derlucchi. And these two continue to hold station. Indiel Hot Dog leads at the moment in the Ferrari. This is a team that is fighting for second, but interesting enough, this Ferrari on the medium tires is massively burning up their rear tires a lot faster than their fronts. So that is going to cause a really interesting handling issue, and while Hot Dog is going long on the tires now, he's going to be bleeding so much time off. When you're dealing with front tire fall off, it's normally just a matter of back up the corner, brake earlier and turn in a little bit smoother, and you can get around it. When it's a rear tire when its rear tires are failing and falling off, it's a lot harder to do anything like that. Meanwhile, we look back at this fight once more, and for those of you who may have been curious about what happened to Cavattro stayed out so long on his tires, they ended up killing his lap time, and he is now way behind the likes of Bruno and Green. So any chance that he had of fighting with this duo for the lead of this stint is just about non-existent right now. It is very much ESV versus VER. They are not the leaders at the moment, but everyone ahead of them on track are drivers who have yet to make their first round of stops right now. Now they're in slightly cleaner air, and this is actually freeing things up just a little bit more for VER Bruno. He's able to get a good run coming onto the longer straightaways and try to use that to open up a bigger gap between himself and that number 38. Big twitch over the inside curb there coming out of turn 2, and now through turn 3, they're tucked up behind that Audi of Chrysalid. Goes to the inside, looks like it could be a bit of a drag race between this duo. And Green is able to stay right behind the rear wing of that Corvette as they go through traffic, so it does not seem like it's having a massive effect overall. Really good run downhill and up into this corner. This seems to be Sector 2, unsurprisingly, is where Green seems to be at his strongest. He actually gives Bruno a little bit of a love tap underneath his rear wing as now they come onto the backstretch once more and now into one of the harder braking zones here. If we look at the penalty markers, we're now deep enough into the race that we can probably look at the penalty markers and get a better idea of the event. Interesting things when it comes to penalties right now, though. ESV Green is currently at 0.022 miles of distance penalty, and Bruno, just as I was saying that, is now at 0.033 miles of distance penalties. So as it stands right now, Green does not have to pass Bruno on track. He can just rely on game-given penalties to give him the win automatically. Now again, though, it's all about overall distance, and there is your move. That's going to be the move for the lead, and now with that done, we are going to see ESV Green run off. And again, we are anticipating that ESV Green will be able to win this stint by at least a third of a mile. And with distance penalties already going in his favor against Bruno, it's going to go even farther in the ESV team's favor. It's not really a matter of driver, it's not a matter of officials misbalancing cars. Just the way that the Dodge Viper lineup amongst all of the Dodge Vipers are built in this game, it gives them a ridiculous advantage over laps here in this game. In literally any category you race Dodge Vipers in. So, with the fight for lead all but basically resolved, real quickly I want to look at NDL Hot Dog, who is continuing to run out in front. You can see how much those rear tires are sliding. He's at 66% wear. He's going to be coming in this time, but he is trying to work a alternate strategy. He threw on medium tires for the very first stint here, and is trying to go, he's going to go about 21, 22 laps. He is going to wreck himself with the way that car is handling. Is he going to be able to make it into the pits? Yes, he will make it into the pits without wrecking at least. But Hot Dog has gone 21 and a half minutes roughly without pitting. So medium tires, if they can go about 20 minutes, and the soft tires can go about 12 to 15 minutes, I do imagine we're still going to see the normal scenario where drivers will do something like 6 stints on the softs and then 1 stint on the medium, and that will likely be the meta for the event today. Third place right now is VER Cartana. NDL Cavatro, after staying out way too long in his tires earlier, has fallen behind Cartana. The McLaren did have a pace advantage though, and had gotten up. Well, he had already started ahead of the Corvette, but then opened up the gap. But now, the situation is inverted. Now the McLaren is trapped behind, and then you have Pop Rocky here. Pop Rocky's kind of the wild card because he is the other Dodge Viper in the field. We're really interested to see how Pop Rocky's fight's going to end up in relation to Cartana and Cavatro. Again, Cartana is in a vet like what Bruno is in. Pop Rocky is in a Viper like what ESV Green is in. And then you have here Cavatro, who's kind of the wild card in a McLaren, and there's only 2 McLarens here in the entire field right now. There goes Cavatro to the outside, trying to go the long way around. It's not really going to work here. Catalunya is a great testing track, but for actual racing, it's very hard to make something happen. You can get offline and try to go side by side into corners, but most of the corners are relatively flat here. Outside line overtake, while not impossible, are going to be very difficult, and you normally need a massive torque difference or tire life difference in order to make a outside line overtake stick. Interesting enough, though, this duo of Cartana and Cavatro currently do not have any distance penalties against them right now. Game. And it looks like we have lost NDL Stock Ash here. We're going to try and reach out to NDL Stock Ash if the game says that he properly disconnects here. Yep, now it seems like he is actually disconnected. So we will try to reach out to Stock Ash and see if Stock Ash wants to give any post-event interviews here. It's a shame that he has not dropped out this early in the affair. But ESV Green leads. VER Bruno is bucking the anticipated trend at least, and is holding steady on Green's rear wing, and we are not quite a quarter of a way through the first of 3 stints right now. Cartana and Cavatro, though, along with Pop Rocky just behind, this is the more interesting battle on track right now. Down the back straightaway. McLaren is able to, at least in the shorter of the 2 straightaways, McLaren does not seem to have a massive advantage or disadvantage against the Vet. Doesn't seem like they really changed the distance between each other too much. I'm really interested to see, though, if Cartana gets a good run through the final corner here. Will he be able to use that and a draft to try and make a run, a bonsai drive on the McLaren? Well, this is not going to be a good one. The rear end kind of hung out there a little bit too much for Cartana, so it was not a great run coming out of the final corner that time. And while he is pulling away from Pop Rocky in a straight line, it does not seem like he's going to be able to close in on Cavatro much this circuit by. We have a fight going on near the back of the grid here. This is between, I believe that is another McLaren, and EMC Bunter, who is in one of the 2 Mustangs that are running right now. Bunter, interestingly enough, despite being significantly off pace, does not yet have any distance penalties to speak of, although with the way this race is going, I imagine we're going to see nearly the entire field ending up with distance penalties by the end of it. Drewski has slipped to last again in the BMW M8. And PTG Neb has, he's been stuck near the rear of the grid, it seems. Just really struggling with keeping this car under him in a nice and consistent manner. Shockingly, he doesn't have a lot of distance penalties, but keeping the car on track has really been a struggle for him, it seems, as he's been trapped near the rear of the grid. And we know that Neb is a better driver than this, but that Ferrari is one of, if not the hardest car in the field to drive. The only drivers we've really seen be able to make any use out of it is Indiel Dindu, and to a lesser extent, this man here, Indiel Hot Dog, two of the drivers in this number 50 Ferrari entry. And even then, oftentimes when they have a third driver, their third drivers just do not seem to be able to perform in the Ferrari quite like what Dindu and Hot Dog are able to. The Ferraris are ridiculously twitchy and finicky when it comes to handling. But anyways, Hot Dog has pulled up behind NDL CJ right now, and it's going to be a drag race between two different NDL cars down the front straightaway, rocket downhill, and into the heavy braking zone of turn 1, and it looks like CJ says, screw it, you can have it, I'm not going to fight with you for it. So Hot Dog now moves up into the 7th position. A reminder, the entry that is currently running third on track, that is Indiel Cavatro, who has gotten by Cartana, has now opened up the gap. This entry is your championship leader right now. They are standing with 45 points over the Indiel Lobster and Rosso Corsa entry, but more significantly overall, they are trying to keep ESV from catching them. ESV has 50 points behind them going into today's event. Right now, Green is not setting up to finish this stint, at least with no distance penalties. So with that in mind, that is one bonus point they will not get. When it looks to the overall point system, the maximum amount of points you can earn in an event is 42. 40 for winning, and then 2 for starting on the pole for stint 1, and then, well, 1 for starting on the pole for stint 1, and then 1 for going ahead and starting, or not starting, finishing the race with no distance penalties right now. And once again, Green and Bruno coming into the pits. Cavatro is going to stay out for a little bit longer once more. But between Green and Bruno, who's going to end up ahead between the two of them? They were pretty much even when they came in last time, but they had an accident then. This time, oh, that's pretty obvious. Look at that. Look at the gap that Green has pulled on Bruno just in pit lane. So it looks to me like ESV Green has one of those Forza trick gearboxes that let you get maximum torque and maximum speed down pit lane entry. So yeah, that fight is very much over now, as Green has, it looks like, used a trick gearbox to beat Bruno instead of just outright destroying him in overall distance and lap times. So that's a little bit interesting. Pop Rocky is staying out a little bit longer, though, as well. In the other Dodge Viper, he is at 70% wear, though, so he's going to have to come in this time. But Pop Rocky is really pushing the limit of what his tires can do here at Catalunya. At this stage of the event, first drivers who have made 2 stops, unsurprisingly, are Green and Bruno. But the drivers who have yet to make their second stops is led by Indiel Cavatro. Likely not going to pit this lap. I think he might stay out another lap if last circuit is anything to go by. But it does seem like Cavatro is working on a setup that is really just trying to maybe cut out a pit stop right now. It seems like Green and Bruno are pitting once every 14 to 15 laps. 14 to 15 minutes. Cavatro might be able to go 16 to 18 minutes by the looks of it. Pop Rocky now finally goes ahead and jumps into pit lane. ESV Green is tucked up behind Indiel CJ, so he's going to have to deal with a little bit of traffic this time in the form of CJ and Hot Dog. But Bruno is so far back, it's just not going to matter. Pop Rocky is the only driver who have pit this time, interestingly enough. Oh no, there goes Bunter. So now Bunter jumps into the pit lane. Cartana is going to scoot ahead of Paprocki here, as Paprocki has just now come out of the pits and might lose the spot to Indio Uzora. And yes, Paprocki has fallen behind Uzora for the moment. So the gap between Cartana and Paprocki has massively opened up in Cartana's favor. It looks like Paprocki has bled off too much time pushing the tires as far as he has here. This is Indio Uzora, who is on a alternate strategy of their own right now. Now, typically we've seen Uzora be in the Ford GT, but with him pulling out of the Ford GT and moving over to the Aston Martin, we will not see the Ford GT entry for the rest of the season, sadly enough. Green is still stuck behind Indio CJ right now, but Bruno is not really showing any signs of closing. Green's going to look to try and go around the outside of the Acura. The Acura has comparable acceleration and torque, so this is not going to be easy for Green. And look at that, CJ cuts right back down in front of Green here at the top of Sector 3. And this is great news for Bruno. This is the best thing that Bruno can ask for, because he's holding the Green is being held up here in the twisties where Green is normally better. If he can just touch the draft off of this duo, he might be able to get a run and make something happen here. Cavatro now goes ahead and pits, so Cavatro is able to go about 16 minutes, so about an extra lap, both stints, before pitting. And Green finally clears CJ. CJ is not letting him go, though. CJ is really putting the screws to Green at the moment. But now it is over. This guy get 2 corners in a row, and the Dodge Viper will destroy everything else. That has been the tale of the Dodge Viper throughout the series. And now it's Bruno who's going to have to figure out a way by CJ. Hot Dog is still a ways up the road, but Hot Dog is running a completely alternate strategy compared to everyone else, and I would not be surprised if he pits before Green or Bruno even catch him right now. Relatively calm stuff right now here at Catalunya. Green has pulled away from CJ. CJ is now holding up Bruno here, as holding up Bruno much more than he had held up Green. Again, the Acura has really, really good acceleration. Bruno with a great late dive. There's just nothing you can do, though. And there you go. That move is done. The good news for Bruno is that he is now in clean air at the parts of the track where he is better off. And Green does not have any draft for the moment. But again, it does seem like Bruno is struggling just a little bit, keeping the rear of the car under him. It seems like the rear of that car slides out a little bit going through the final corner. And that is negating some of Bruno's straight line speed advantage at the end of Sector 3 and the start of Sector 1 here. And that will likely be one of the key things that keeps Green ahead. But we thought that Green was going to run off and win this stint by at least a third of a lap, if not more. Bruno is doing a good job keeping Green honest. And if it comes down to a penalty fight, that's kind of the problem. Bruno keeps gradually adding up penalties. Green has kind of stopped the bleeding for the penalties right now. He has less than half of what Bruno does, so even if Bruno catches Green, Green is going to win this off of penalty countback right now. Again, Indio Hot Dog is leading, but Hot Dog is on a wildly alternate strategy all on their own. They ran a medium stint of tires very early on in the event, and they might be on another set of mediums now, actually. I can't confirm that for certain. I think they may have gone medium soft. Medium tires can take you about 20 minutes. Soft tires can take you about 14 minutes or so. So if he pits this time, which considering the tire life, I imagine he would pit this lap or next lap, he's probably gone medium soft. Or maybe he's on medium and his mediums aren't lasting super long. It's a little bit hard to tell right now, and I do apologize that I can't get you perfect ideas regarding that. Green is closing in on Hot Dog, but unless Hot Dog elects to pit this lap, oh, he is not, so Green may have to deal with a little bit more traffic here. Now, the thing with the Ferrari is that the Ferrari typically is really good at the higher speed corners which have a little bit more aero. They're not as powerful in the slower speed corners, at least historically in this league, while Green's Dodge is going to be better at the slower speed corners. So this may be a case where Green may struggle a bit. Oh, nope, never mind. That's over with. There was nothing Hot Dog could do. He bounced over the curb, and Green just went right by. And already that gap has completely opened up. Well, time to talk about something else that's not the lead of this race, because that is over. Somehow, VER Cartana is still running with no distance penalties right now. Very interested in that. They are at 35% on their tire life right now, I think. Yeah, they are setting up for their third stop sooner rather than later, but they are ahead of Cavatro right now. Cavatro has been able to go really long on their tires, but it has been hurting their overall distance. They are pushing their tires a little bit too far, and it's just adding up and hurting them. I feel like that could be a winning strategy, but not a winning strategy, but a top 3 strategy, but that strategy being pushed too far, coupled with the distance penalties that Cavatro has stacked up, I think it might be enough to shunt Cavatro out of a top 5 finish, and it may put ESV Green and the ESV team overall within a race worth of points of the championship lead. Again, there is only 2 confirmed races after this one. There will be a race in October and a race in November. We are unsure if there will be a race in December or not. If we end up with 3 races, this team, Cavatro's team, is in a world of hurt. They need to figure out a way to stop the bleeding. But if it's just today and 2 more races, then as long as there's no disconnects, I think this team should be good to lock up the championship by just finishing top 10 overall in these remaining few races. Indiel Hot Dog is in the pits, and right now, Hot Dog and EMC Bunter are the only drivers who are on track to get the bonus point for not having a dirty lap here at Catalunya in the first stint. As Hot Dog finally creeps out of pit lane, we're likely going to see him stay just barely ahead of Hilfiger here, but he will cycle all the way back to 9th position. That is that's an aggressive move out of the pit lane exit. I'm not going to pretend to know exactly how the pit lane exit rules work here. It's normally not an issue, but that might be something worth looking into later. And Drewski has also made a stop and has cycled rearwards, and this is PTG Neb, the other Ferrari. It continues to go from bad to worse for PTG Neb after the start of the race. I don't think he has been higher than 16th all day today. It's just not been a great time for the PTG entry whatsoever. And again, with this race at only 2, maybe 3, but only 2 more events left, they may be saddled with a very temperamental Ferrari for the rest of the season. Not a good late season debut for this team. CJ now jumping into the pits. So the Acura is going to jump in. Again, the Acura is one of the drivers on alternate strat as well. And Cartana and Cavatro, the gap between the 2 of them, are starting to close back down. But if you look at it, Cartana doesn't even have 2% of a mile of distance penalties. Cavatro was closing in on 0.09 of a mile of distance penalties. So it does look like this will be one of the races that will be decided by distance penalties. And speaking of being decided by distance penalties, highest distance penalty at this stage of the event is F1R Paparaki here in the 101 Dodge. They are over 1/5 of a mile of distance penalties. That is more than any 2 other drivers combined right now. So, yeah, they're really trying to milk all the distance they can out of the Dodge, and it's just not looking good for them. But at this stage of the event, we are looking at a series of different strategies trying to pull out, but at the head of the field, it's taken a little bit, but ESV Green has finally pulled away from VER Bruto and is sailing into the distance here. 40 minutes into Stint 1 at Catalunya. We're going to take an ad break. We'll be right back shortly here for P1R's SEC Catalunya Enduro. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya. Just as we went away to the ad break, Bruno went ahead and elected to pit 1 lap earlier than green. So he has had a lap on cleaner tires in nice clean air and is going to hope that he can do something with this to try and get back up to ESV green here. And he's now going to be at a tire disadvantage for the rest of this tire run, but is he going to be any closer to ESV green? That is the question, and I have a feeling that the answer is going to be no. By looks of it, ESV green coming out of pit lane now. And no, Bruno will be a little bit closer. Bruno's going to be right behind, well, not right behind, but very close to green. But the thing is that now Bruno is at a tire disadvantage in a car that already burns tires faster than green, and he's now going to be at a tire disadvantage to the end of the race here. So, yeah, this may have closed the gap between the two of them on track, but I don't think it's actually going to work out in Bruno's favor by any significant margin. If anything, I think this is probably just giving green even more of an advantage long term. The best thing that Bruno can do right now is try and pressure green into making a mistake, but I just don't see that happening. Pop Rocky has now cycled up into second on track here, but that is mainly because they have not yet made their next stop yet. They are likely going to be paying at the end of this lap. And it is NDL Cavatro who is back into the lead once more. Again, the big thing for Cavatro, he is fighting with VER Cartana. Cartana has been pitting earlier and a little bit more consistently. Cavatro is going long, likely trying to cut out a pit stop, but he is bleeding off time every time he stays out longer, and he has a lot of distance penalties to deal with as well. So for Cavatro, he needs to, for him to help secure his team spot in the championship overall, he needs to try and bring home a good top 5, ideally a top 3 result here. But it seems like that is going to be a very, very difficult task for him to do today. This here is the closest we have seen this duo be for about 5 or 6 laps now. But Bruno is now almost at a 1/10 of a mile of distance penalties. So when it comes down to it, the Dodge Viper's advantage in tires just give it such a ridiculous leg up that unless you are abusing track limits like what we are seeing Pop Rocky doing, the Viper is almost guaranteed to be a top 5 finishing car. I have a feeling that the PTG guys went ahead and jumped into the Dodge. They would likely be bringing home a top 6 or a top 7 result, bare minimum. And that is off the back of they are not in a top endurance racing performance. A lot of the PTG drivers that are running in this have not been in any really big endurance races recently, at least not as far as I'm aware, compared to a lot of these other people here who they kind of live, breathe, and sweat endurance races. Hot Dog holding on in 4th position, just ahead of NDL CJ. Again, reminder, Hot Dog is on a wildly alternate strategy. All on his own, he knocked out a set on the harder tires very early on in the event. Trying to keep NDL CJ behind him right now. And again, Hot Dog is one of only 2 drivers currently in contention for the bonus point for finishing a stint with no distance penalties right now. A little bit farther down in the grid, this is the HYR entry, which has NDL Warner in it in this Acura. They are tucked up behind the Corvette of NWR Origin right now. Now, Warner has a bit of a distance penalty disadvantage compared to Origin at the moment. But when it comes to Acura versus Corvette, well, the Acura, while it's not as good as the Dodge, the Acura is a fantastic car when it comes to acceleration out of the corners. So Origin is going to be hammered and harassed by Warner for a pretty long period of time, as long as Warner doesn't slide off, which he very nearly did there between the last 2 corners. But the Chevrolet does have a really, really good straight line speed and should be able to use that to keep Warner at bay, at least down the front straightaway and to a lesser extent the back stretch that is at the start of Sector 3 here at Catalunya. Most other battles, though, have pretty much dissolved at this point of the event. Outside of Hot Dog and CJ, everyone else seems to... Well, there is this, actually. I had missed this last time I looked. This is Chrysalid and Pop Rocky. Now, reminder, these two are on alternate strategies. Chrysalid trying to make the Audi work late in the season. Again, Audi was popular very early on in this series, but big twitch over the curb there. As it's gone on, it's just fallen out of favor. Now, this team is the only one still running an Audi at this stage of the season. And right there, you can see how easily the Viper, if it gets an ideal line, how easy it can power out of a corner. And the fact that it's 3 corners in a row right here just works fantastically in the Viper's favor. And Chrysalid's going to have to pit this time. Also, Cavatro's going ahead and paying this time as well. So we're going to see, where is Cavatro going to end up in relation to Cartana? Well, there's your answer. Cartana way up the road from Cavatro. In fact, there might be a possibility we will see Pop Rocky get by Cavatro here. And when all of this is working out, I think we could see Cavatro finishing as bad as 6th or 7th here. And with ESV Green being out in front, we are going to see a scenario where the rest of Cavatro's teammates, they're going to have to dig deep to try and drag in a top 3 result overall. Again, this event, these are enduros that are calculated by overall cumulative distance between all 3 stints. So you want to be as close, even if you're 20th. If you were 20th but only a 10th of a mile off, that would be significantly better than being 5th and 2 miles off. And Cavatro's teammates right now are going to have to dig deep, because while Cavatro is putting on a respectable run, it does not look like it is going to be enough to bring home a close enough gap between themselves and Green. They really have to consider a significant fight from the ESV team to steal this championship from them right now. Bruno has sucked up right behind Green, and we thought that he was going to fall off right away, but no, it seems like he's just close enough to the Dodge Viper that he's getting the draft, and that coupled with the Corvette's own great top end is letting him close so much time down on the front straightaway that he can afford to bleed off time throughout the rest of the circuit here. Derlucci now going ahead and pinning in that Audi farther back. And CJ has gotten by Hot Dog. I think Hot Dog has probably just pushed the life on the tires a little bit too far now. He's nearly at 60%. There it is, 60% on that left rear. And yeah, the Ferraris really seem to be burning up the rear tires in today's event. Not something we see a lot of within this championship, but we do seem to be witnessing a lot of rear tire fall off on the Ferraris today. No other car is having as much of a rear tire fall off as they are. PTG Neb right now is in the other Ferrari. He is the first car to go a lap down today. He is also dealing with significant rear tire fall off. His rear tires are falling off nearly 3 to 6% faster than the fronts here. He is way off the rest of the field right now. All right, meanwhile, back at the front, Bruno still runs right behind Green. Is he going to be close enough to try and make a dive going into turn 1? He needs to make sure that this run out of the final corner is perfect. He cannot afford to let the rear end of that Corvette hang out like we've seen it do several times before. A little bit more reserved, a little bit more confident. This might be the run. There's still a big gap, but the vet should be able to run the gap down. Does Bruno set up for a big dive on Green going into turn 1? No, he is too far back. He has to still brake early. But it does seem like Bruno, for the moment, is not struggling with a significant tire fall off. And for Cavatro, he needs Bruno to get up there and start really fighting with Green and drag Green back down through the grid so Green cannot open up as big of a gap. Right now, Green's only about maybe a 1/5 of a lap ahead of Cavatro. A 1/5 of a lap here, when we're not quite halfway through this stint, could very easily open up to nearly half a lap between Green and Cavatro. And again, Cavatro already has over a 1/10 of a mile of distance penalties. Green earned that 0.022 early on and has been very stable, has not earned any more penalties since then. So yeah, that is something else to consider. And again, Cartana, VER Cartana, might end up being the wild card here that really kind of punches Cvatro in the gut and keeps that team from walking off with as big of a point lead as possible, because VER Cartana is on a much more conservative strategy in this 925 Corvette and is legitimately setting himself up for a top 5 finish. And I think, unless we are completely miscalculating, I think Cartana is going to end up ahead of Cvatro by the time that everyone is done with their final stops. And that, coupled with distance penalties, I think Cvatro could very easily take home a podium result here. Third place is CJ, and CJ, who was running an alternate strategy, finally jumping into pit lane now. At the head, any closer between Bruno and Green? No, the gap is now starting to open up, and that's not too much of a surprise when you look at the tire life. 60% almost, and Bruno will have to pit this time. For ESV Green, though, that is not quite as much of a problem. He's only now hit 50% on the fronts. He is definitely driving a little bit more aggressively since he is now bringing up his fronts more. But Green still has this lap and enough fuel for another lap afterwards. So Green can start to open up the gap on Bruno, and then he'll have a lap in what should be comparatively clean air. It might be a bit of a wild card because they are closing in on Indiel Druski, but I don't think he's going to catch Druski very quickly here. Druski has just recently completed a pit stop, and Green and Bruno both have yet to make a next pit stop. So this gap is not going to suddenly collapse on us overnight. Uzora making another stop right now as we see Derluki go by. Grizzlids passed him as well, and there goes NWR Arkina in one of the Mercedes. And that was another story for those of you who had not followed this series earlier in the year. There was a period in the springtime where the Mercedes was by far the best car on the grid, and you were seeing half of the field rolling up in Mercedes, just trying to capitalize off their ridiculous performances. It took a lot of BOP adjustments, but eventually the Mercedes was brought back in line with everything else. The meta has been a little bit hard to sniff out since, but it became very obvious last month at Bathurst that the Dodge Viper was the way to go. For those of you who are not familiar with how Bathurst race and did not watch last month's Enduro at Bathurst, it was just all came down to who could go farther on the tires. Even though you could not pass in the mountain with a handful of exceptions, it all came down to what you could do with the tires. And and everyone really got to see how good the Dodge was there. The team that was first overall, although unfairly I would argue, post-race penalty stripped the win from the Dodge, I would argue unfairly. The Dodge by far was the best car and driver combo on track, and ESV Green basically Ironmanned it. Again, I'm not even sure how that's legal, but ESV Green Ironmanned the entirety of Bathurst in the Mustang. It's the only podium result that we have seen by the Mustang since the Mustang GT3 has been added, but ESV Green did not have the ability to overcome. And now the ESV team has aborted their run on the Mustang. They have moved over to the Viper, and unless there's something absolutely absurd that happens going forward, the Viper with the ESV team is likely going to win all of these remaining stints because of that massive tire advantage, unless there is a significant BOP adjustment that is made to drag them down. And speaking of which, here is Green making his stop now. Bruno made his stop last lap. Green is making his stop right now. That gap is really big, and again, the big thing is for Bruno, even if he catches ESV Green on track, the distance penalty means that there's nothing he can really do to him. Bruno is just trying to fight to be as close to second as possible and hope that his teammates can try and nip the other ESV drivers of Karts, and sadly, off the top of my head, I forgot who the third ESV driver is. The ESV team has often been only a 1 or 2 car driver effort for most of the season. But, yeah. Cvatro goes back to lead. Green coming out of pit lane now in third, and there is the vet of Bruno behind, and that gap is significantly bigger. So yeah, it is now just a matter of the bleeding is started, and it is not going to stop between Bruno and Green here, unless there is a massive tire offset that happens between them near the end of the race. So Cavatro goes back to the lead here at Catalunya. He is on a alternate strategy, trying to minimize the number of stops he makes overall, we believe. If you look at his pit stop strategy, he is setting up to finish this race with 7 stops. Right now, Green and Bruno might be on a 8-stop strategy at the moment. But Cavatro is fine with Cartana, who is also setting up for an 8-stop strategy as well as this race is going on. We're going to go ahead and ride on board with this McLaren of Indiel Cavatro, your championship leader. Pipes. Thank you, Reverb. Pipes is the 3rd driver in the ESV team. We're going to ride for a lap on board with Indiel Cavatro, and we'll be back shortly here at Catalunya. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Catalunya. Halfway through this stint, and again, unlike a Tour Enduro or the IARA Enduro we covered about 2 weeks back, about 3 weeks back actually, this is going to go all the way to the end. This will go to the end of race timer. So it is a solid 2 hours of racing per stint. And halfway through right now, unsurprisingly, although VER Bruno put his Corvette up front, it is ESV Green in the massively tire advantage Dodge Viper that is set to walk off with this win and close down the gap in the championship to this team, the team that Indiel Cavatro is driving for. Cavatro is trying to run what we believe is a 7-stop strategy against the like of Cartana and Paprocki, who we believe are on 8-stop strategies. And Cavatro is trying desperately to bring home a top 5 result. But when you consider that Cavatro has to fight with Paprocki, has to fight with Cartana, has to fight with Hot Dog, CJ, and then a risk of accidents himself, Cavatro's shot of bringing home a podium result is looking very, very low. I think Cavatro would have to settle for maybe just 5th overall here. But again, when it comes to the chance of earning a bonus point for not getting any distance penalties, right now it is 2 entries, Indiel Hot Dog and EMC Bunter. These 2 drivers are the ones setting themselves up to finish this race with no distance penalties. Interesting enough, Hot Dog has not just been running around in clean air and bringing this kind of result home by just not doing any fighting. He has fought quite aggressively with this driver here, Indiel CJ, quite a few times. Reminder, CJ and Hot Dog, these 2 are fighting with each other for 2nd in the championship right now. They are both about 30-something, I think they're like 36 points out. I'll have to check the points again real quickly. I don't have a lot of this stuff committed to memory, I apologize. But these 2 entries, the one with CJ and Hot Dog, they're on the India Lobster and Rosso Corsa team, they are tied for second in the championship. They are both 45 points out from Cavatrro right now, but they are only about 5 points ahead of ESV Green at the moment. So right now, CJ and Hot Dog are fighting between each other for what is currently second, and if the ESV team wins all the remaining stints and races like we anticipate they will, this will be a fight for third in the championship overall that these two are fighting for. And while CJ has the advantage right now on track when it comes to distance penalties, Hot Dog is setting up to get a bonus point for no distance penalties and will close in the gap on CJ on distance just because, again, no distance penalties. Now, there's still over 55 minutes left. That could still change, but that really kind of shows the difference in how these two drivers are racing right now. Reminder, through this point of the season, the India Lobster team that has Beats, Wara, and CJ, they have won 2 events thus far this season, while the other entry, the Rosso Corsa entry with Hot Dog, Dindu, and Micro, they have not won a race thus far this season. They have won stints, but typically they'll perform very good in one stint, kind of fall off in stint 2, and then in stint 3, they will completely lose track. They've only had 1 podium result overall. This entry, the Acura that we're looking at, they have had 4 podiums, 2 wins and 2 seconds across the season thus far. So that really kind of drives in the difference between the two. And again, on top of that, mind you, this Acura entry that has Beats, Wawa, and CJ in it, they have 21 bonus points over the season. The other one only has 8. The thing is, though, that when this Acura team has a bad day, when it underperforms real badly, and it has been consistency and a better average finish for the most part that has let the Ferrari entry that has Hot Dog in it right now has let them close in and really have a fight at this stage of the season late in the running here. So the information I was just giving you may be slightly inaccurate. I just realized looking at the data. I'm going to have to double check the data a little bit later on in the year. That data might be a little bit inaccurate. I do apologize. I was looking at the point sheet. I assumed it was all updated. The podium tally may not be updated properly, so I do apologize if that is incorrect. There's a little bit of a fight going on here between EMC Bunter and another Viper in the form of AFZ Nex. These two drivers are fighting for position, but remember, Bunter also trying to get the bonus point for no distance penalties, although he is on track to finish this race a lap down. But with the rate that his race is going, it's not been the worst thing ever, but he just does not have the pace to really run away and open up enough a gap on Green or Bruno as this goes on here. Excuse me. Basically every other fight on the track is pretty much dissolved. It is literally just these two drivers right now slugging it out. It looks like Drewski is coming in the pit, so we're likely going to see Drewski go a lap down momentarily here. So for those of you who did not see the start of this stint, real quickly, let's look at this right now. Stock Ash has been our only disconnect of the event thus far, and we are sad to see that happen to him. Bruno started on the pole and has been running second most of the day. ESU Green started second, has been running front most of the day. Indy LCJ was way down in 7th at the start, but has climbed his way up to 4th, but he is off strategy. We don't know where his actual finishing pace is set to be right now. VER Cartana has also climbed up the grid quite a little bit. Indiel Cavatrro has actually lost ground, but again, Cavatrro is on an alternate strategy. He might be a little bit higher up once it comes down to it. Same thing with Pop Rocky and Hot Dog. Both of them qualified higher up. but they are on alternate strategies. We don't really know what's going to go. Indio Uzora is the really interesting case. Uzora thus far has gained more positions than anyone else at the stage of the event. Again, slightly alternate strategy, but Uzora is trying to make something happen in the Aston Martin, and we are used to Uzora repping the Ford GT team, so seeing him perform in another car suggests that may not be a case that they had found something working in the Ford GT before. It may just be a case that Uzora is a silently strong driver here. Interesting enough, NWR Origin is still running roughly where they qualified. Same with Hilfiger, Chryslid, and Derluki. Arkina has gained several positions since the start. EMC Bunter qualified at the very back of the grid. AFZ Next also has made a little bit of move up. Warner is roughly where he started the race at. Drewski is just, he's again, alternate strategy, but this BMW M8 is likely having its worst run the entire season right now. Ironically enough, this is still the only BMW on track. Mind you, very few races. I think it was only 3 months into the season. The BMW M4 GT3 car dropped, and the officials started homologating that, and they stopped homologating the BMW M8. But this team, the NDL team here, continue to stick with the M8, and they have had some good results with it. But it seems like it's all kind of falling apart today. This is probably the worst run we've seen, but yet still, just by virtue of showing up, this is going to be better than anything that the BMW M4 entries have performed, because there are no M4s today. And then last place is PTG Neb. Neb in the Ferrari is having an absolute atrocious time of it right now. Has had no ability to control the rear tire wear of the car. It has been slidey, has been twitchy all over. And again, when you lock into a car, you're supposed to be in a car for 3 races. This is their first race for the PTG team, and we think there may only be 2 more races left in the season. I've said several times, I'm going to say it again, this is not looking like it will be a good season for the PTG team. So Bruno has gone ahead and made his stop, but now it is a different VER Corvette moving up into second. This is VER Cartana, who has now cycled his way up into second place on track right now. Now, obviously, Cartana is on a conservative strategy, not really pushing anything too far, and we're going to see him pit this time by. But Cartana all the way up to second, and here comes ESV Green coming into the pits. We know that Green is going to maintain the lead after this is over, but still, Cartana might be able to make it a pair of podium finishes in Stint 1 today, second and third. The VER team showed up with some numbers a month ago at Bathurst, but none of them were near the front when it came down to it. Today has been a significant turnaround by the team, and if not for the ESV team finally figuring out, oh, Dodges are ridiculously OP because of tire life, we would likely be seeing a VER team maybe fighting for overall win. Cavatro is going to be third, still ahead of Bruno, but obviously not in a position to steal the lead from Green. Or is he? No, he will. So for the moment, NDL Cavatro once again will steal the lead from ESV Green. Again, though, reminder, Cavatro is on an alternate strategy. He is not fighting for the overall win. He is trying to just bring home a podium finish by cutting out a pit stop. He wants to be ahead of the likes of Pop Rocky, CJ, Hot Dog, and Cartana. We don't really know what the likelihood of him being able to pull that off is. Big thing's really not working well for Cavatro is that he has nearly 10 times the amount of distance penalty compared to Cartana, but he does still have only about half of the distance penalty of Pop Rocky, and he still has less than CJ, but Hot Dog has no distance penalties whatsoever. The more and more I'm mapping this out, I feel that Cavatro is set for a 5th place finish, maybe a 6th, but with the overall distances, that's just not going to be looking good whatsoever. Green, again, does have distance penalties, but it's been this solid 0.022 almost since the start of the event. It has not shifted at all. So yeah, Cavatro is going to lose a massive amount of distance. He needs to figure out a way to make Green struggle and suffer behind his car, force Green to add some distance penalties, just so Cavatro's teammates have some sort of shot on closing down when it is ESV Karts and ESV Pipes in that dodge later on in the event here. Now Paprocki jumps into the pits as anticipated. Who is that just came out pit lane? That is Nex, isn't it? Yes, it is Nex, and Nex will go a lap down now. Nex is probably going to stay a lap down, I imagine. There's no way that Nex gets by Green on track unless Green has some sort of failure here. Interestingly enough, Bruno and Cavacho actually have the exact same amount of distance penalties right now. We don't see that very often late in these runnings here. Bit of a fight here between the ZR Chrysalid and ZR Derluki. This is McLaren versus Audi. This is one of those fights that appears for a few minutes. It goes really aggressively for a while, and then it kind of fades away and evaporates. Then warms back up later on. These two are having a fight right here in the middle third of the field right now. Honestly, they look like they're fighting to be leader of was kind of the mid-pack. I feel like the top 7, all kind of in their own zone. Everyone from Cavacho, Paprocki are basically locked into top 7 results unless they have a catastrophic failure. Derluki and Chrysalid, they are basically leading what is the mid-pack here. Neither of them seem really happy in that switchback section there at the bottom of Sector 2. And when I say the bottom of Sector 2, I normally mean that geographically speaking it is lower than the rest of Sector 2. Same thing when I say the top of Sector 3. That part is elevated higher than the rest of Sector 3. So when I'm saying the bottom of or the top of a sector, that's normally what I mean. It's not a matter of it's the start or the end of a sector. It is normally this is the lowest part of the sector of the circuit. Often I would say the top of the racetrack, but I'm not going to lie. I am not super confident in my understanding of the geography of Catalunya. I think this section here in the second to last and third to last corners is the highest part on the entire circuit, but I might be wrong, so I'm not going to confidently say through the entire race, oh yes, that is the top of the track, so I would normally just say the top of Sector 3 when referring to those corners. Green is tucked up behind Cavacho and is being frustrated a bit by the McLaren. Green has a massive tire advantage, but just getting by is a little bit more difficult. The thing is, though, he is not in a rush. There is 2 lapped cars to himself and Bruno. And Bruno has a massive amount of distance penalties as well. So Green can afford to just hang out behind this McLaren right now. As long as they don't end up in an accident, this will be fine. Now Cavacho adds a little bit more distance penalty there. Origin and Hilfiger are very much not battling. There is a gap between them. Not a massive gap, but there is a gap between them. Here comes the move for the lead. And I don't think there's anything Cavacho is going to do to really fight back here. The dodges are just too good in the game. And there's just nothing you can do to really balance them back in unless they are just given a massive handicap in power. And when I mean a massive handicap in power, they're already naturally handicapped in power, but I mean a massive handicap in power that they can't even stay in touch with draft. That is over. Cavacho is likely going to be paying the next lap or 2 here. Again, Cavacho, we believe, is on a 7-stop strategy. Everyone else seems to be set for an 8-stopper. CJ and Hot Dog starting to close in on each other again once more. Ferrari versus Acura. Hot Dog might be setting himself up for a podium position here, depending on how things go with Cartana and Cavacho. So all of our championship contenders look like they're going to be, well, all of our top 4 teams in the championship look like they're going to be bringing home top 7 results. But outside of the ESV team obviously winning this first stint, we don't really know where second, third, the top 3, the NDL teams are going to be in relation to each other at the end of this all. This is probably the most struggling I've seen from the Noodles team in the Ferrari when it comes to just handling and balance. The Ferrari has just been absolutely a dog when it comes to bringing up its rear tires. Now again, typically it is Dindu who's the high-performing driver for the Ferrari team. Hot Dog's kind of the mid-performing driver usually, but this car is fast, but it is just very, very unstable and unbalanced here more than anywhere else. And that is Cartana in the Corvette that is trying to close in there. Oh, and there's Derlucci pitting now. So that will likely cycle them back to roughly where Krislid's pitting, Derlucci's pitting. Why is Krislid so far off? Krislid and Derlucci were on top of each other earlier. I must have missed something while focusing on the lead. I do apologize for that. There is this potential fight here for 17th that is still looking like it might go on here between AFZ Nex and EMC Bunter. Bunter runs in 17th, Nex is 16th, but Nex has distance penalties, Bunter does not. And then interestingly enough, a little bit up the road from them is Arkina, and Arkina has over a fifth of a mile of distance penalties. And speaking of distance penalties, highest amount of distance penalties right now is F1R Papraki in the Viper. They are almost at a quarter of a mile of distance penalties. It doesn't seem like once the field spread out, the distance penalties stopped racking up as quickly, but still, a quarter of a mile is a massive amount of time to give up here around Catalunya, especially because the laps here are not very long, and someone has gone off. And that is Nex, who has gone off in the final corner. No damage, but Nex has slid off track there in the final corner and is going to fall behind Warner. It's going to be tough. He's going to have to go deep to try and stay ahead of Warner here. And it looks like he will go deep enough to get clear the 298 YR entry. But yeah, Nex is not having a great time of this today either. So Cavatro ended up ahead of Hot Dog for now, but that's because Hot Dog has made a stop. Green has now upped his distance penalty to 0.051, but outside of Cartana and Hot Dog, he is still best of everyone in the top 7 right now. And if we look at the strategies, CJ is looking like he might be setting up for a 7-stop strategy as well here. He is the only driver in the top 5 to have yet to make his 5th stop of the day. Again, there is not a mandated amount of stops you have to make, but due to the accelerated tire wear in these Enduros, you will want to make lots of stops throughout the events here. Just because your tires are going to be absolutely awful. Yeah, it looks like it will be CJ and Uzor will be the last drivers to make their 5th stop. Bruno is still within visible distance of Green. I really, really thought that once Green got into clean air, he would just destroy the rest of the field in distance. That has very much not been the case. Green doesn't make mistakes very often, which is one of the reasons why the ESV team is one of the more boring teams to ever watch. But the ESV team is in a position where if they make a mistake, Bruno is going to be immediately on top of them, really making something happen. Also, Cartana now cycles back up into 3rd. Again, remember, Cartana is on a more conservative strategy. We are just about guaranteed that he is on an 8-stop strategy by the way it is looking here. ESV Green probably won't pit this lap, but will likely pit next lap. VER Bruno, who is on a one lap deficit, is going to have to pit at the end of this lap, though. And then Cartana has been pitting in sequence with ESV Green for most of this race. So he'll likely be pitting not this lap, but next lap. And that will likely cycle the lead maybe back to Cavatro. The big thing is Green has set some good laps. When Green makes a stop, there's a high likelihood that Green will end up right ahead of Cavatro and won't actually lose the lead at all. Again, Cavatro's fight is not really with Green on track. It is with Green in the points, but it is very obvious that now that the best drivers have ended up with the best car, Cavatro's fight is with trying to make something happen to bring home podiums, top threes for the rest of the season so the team can preserve their championship lead and lock up the title overall. That is the overall goal for Cvatro. And now we see, as anticipated, Bruno pits this time. Brocky's likely going to pit in another, not this lap, probably not next lap, but the lap after that. Then you'll have CJ, who is the most recent to have made the 5th sub, so he's going to be going a long time on this set of rubber. And then you'll have Hot Dog, who's currently running in 7th. No distance penalties for Hot Dog yet. Somehow, he is now the only driver with no distance penalties, as EMC Bunter is now finally up with a distance penalty. So Hot Dog trying to do something that he would be the only one to do, bring home a stint with no distance penalties. And with the amount of distance penalties that CJ, Pop Rocky, and Cvatro, and to a lesser extent Bruno have all stacked up, this could bring home a fantastic result for Hot Dog overall in this stint. We know that if he can keep it together, 1 extra point in the championship, and he is fighting with CJ for 2nd in the championship, although they're going to lose 2nd by the end of this event to the ESV team. We know that for a fact. Unless there's a disconnect, ESV is guaranteed to win this race and steal 2nd in points. But Hot Dog is fighting with CJ for position in the championship, and they are poised to get a very crucial point here right now and get a little bit of a distance on CJ's team. So Green's in the pit now. We assume that Cartana is going to pit. Cvatro is going to stay out. He now has Bruno behind him. So this is going to be where things get interesting, but this also all but confirms that Cvatro is not going to be able to get the lead back from Green. So Green will hold the lead over the McLaren. He will not lose the lead whatsoever. Bruno and Cvatro both have to figure out between each other how they want to let this work out. Bruno wants to try and stay as close to Green as possible, so if something happens to the ESV drivers in stint 2 or 3, his team can capitalize. For Cvatro, he needs to go for overall distance. It looks like he's going to go ahead and let the Corvette pass. Is not going to put too much of a pressure on Bruno. Cvatro knows that his fight is more about overall distance, and he figures that it would be better to just let Bruno go by. Pop Rocky is the next driver that would likely catch Cvatro on track. But again, Cvatro, 0.127 miles. Pop Rocky, more than twice the amount of distance penalty that Cvatro has right now. So Cvatro trying to think about distance right now. We're going to go ahead and knock out a Twitch mandated ad break. We'll be back shortly here at Catalunya. Well, that's that fight done with. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya. It has been a relatively calm event. Not a whole lot of crazy things developing on track to talk about. Green is slowly walking off with this, but not by as much as we anticipated. The fight is going to be for third. Cvatro has third right now, but we believe that Cvatro is on a 7-stop strategy. As is, we think, Pop Rocky may be on a 7-stop strategy, but throwing on mediums near the end. We think that CJ is on a 7-stop. We believe that Hot Dog is on a 7-stop. Cartana, Green, and Bruno, we believe, are on 8-stop strategies. So Cvatro is trying to stay ahead of Pop Rocky, CJ, Hot Dog, and Cartana to bring home a third-place result. Pop Rocky pitting now with 32 minutes left. So again, we are anticipating that Pop Rocky will make what will be their 7th and final stop with about 16 minutes left in the event right now. Not a lot of stuff has been going on the circuit that's really worth talking about. It's been a relatively calm affair. We have had a few drivers such as AFZ Next, NWR Arkina, and Drewski sliding off track at various points of the event, but no big incidents, no big contacts. I don't really think there's going to be a lot that's worth talking about post-event penalties over in this event. We've had quite a few moments where things have gotten interesting, but nothing of absolute note. It seems like this has been very much a race decided by sheer pace, and even though we do have some strategy offsets, these strategy offsets are not so big to really warrant going crazy about talking about. That is Warner going by there. That is Drewski, and there is ESV Green going by. When will Green make their final stops? They're at 24% right now, so maybe, I may have miscalculated, but I think Green might still be on an 8-stop strategy. He might try to make it 7 stops. If he elects to put on mediums, once the set of tires is through, he might be able to finish us on a 7-stop strategy here. For Bruno, who has been at a tire disadvantage since about the 3rd round of pit stops, he is going to have to go ahead and say, bucket, and kick it with his hind legs and commit to an 8-stop strategy. There's just nothing else he can do. He is at such a massive tire disadvantage. If he tries to match Green's strategy, he's just going to be hurting and bleeding off very valuable time near the end. He might as well make the extra pit stop, run the soft tires, and make something happen. Here's the interesting thing, though. CJ nearly at a 1/5 of a mile of distance penalties right now. Pop Rocky is over a 1/4 of a mile of distance penalties. Compared to that, Bruno and Cvatro are much, much better off. I think Hot Dog is going to be the main driver that Cvatro is going to have to deal with. I think Hot Dog may, if he can make sure he gets no distance penalties for those remaining 30 minutes, Hot Dog might be able to steal a 3rd place result from your points leader. That would be so frustrating for Cvatro. But again, position in this race is not what matters, it is overall distance. And if the other NDL drivers in this Ferrari are not as steady as Hot Dog is, and they bleed off time like we normally see, normally they have a 3rd driver that's normally a little bit off pace, it may not be as bad. If it comes down to overall distance, Cvatro's team is normally one of, if not the better ones at getting a good cumulative distance. That is one of the main reasons why they are leading the championship at this stage of the season. So I think Cvatro is setting himself up, or setting his team up at least, for a 3rd place result here. Meanwhile, ESV Green preparing to put more drivers a lap down. That is the M8 of, I believe that is Drewski. Yes, it is. That would be 14th place Drewski, who would be about to go a lap down. Frustratingly enough, at the rate it is going, PTG Neb might actually finish this run 2 laps down. For Cartana, real quickly, I do want to go ahead and look at this other Corvette running up near the front. Cartana is in a fight with Cavatro for third. Again, we are anticipating that Cartana is on a, we believe, a 7-stop strategy now, or an 8-stop strategy. It's a little bit hard to tell for certain. But if they're going to go, wrong ticker. If they're going to go on this set of tires, and then pit once the set of tires are burned up, they may want to go ahead, throw on a set of mediums, and just try to survive and struggle. But they are in a fight with Cavatro, who is pitting now, trying to steal third. And remember, Cartana has the third best distance penalty scenario right now of everyone in the top 7 at the moment. So Cavatro and Hot Dog both pitting this time. CJ is going to stay out for a little bit longer, though. So where's Cartana going to end up in relation to Cavatro? Cavatro's still not out of pit lane. And that Cartana's cleared Cavatro very easily. With 26 minutes left, Cavatro is going to probably go on soft tires now, run the softs to the end, and then put another set of softs on. That would be a 7-stop. Cartana, I think, is going to run the set of tires as far as he can, and then throw on the mediums. The medium tires have really only been able to go about 20 minutes or so. If he completes this lap and another lap afterwards, I think Cartana would be at about 23 minutes left. Now, if he makes it 3 more laps, this lap and then 2 more, Cartana can easily go to the end on a set of mediums. But if he pits a lap earlier than that, he will be dealing with some tire fall off near the very end here. Pulls up and is going to get by Indy L. Warner here as one of the lapped cars. Lap traffic has been a lot bigger impact on the top drivers today than it has been for most of the season. Typically, we'll have 1 or 2 guys go a lap down, and then at the very, very tail end, we'll see maybe 1 or 2 other people fall a lap down. But no, this time it has been a solid stream of drivers going a lap down, and they have not been massively off pace. It's just the lap times are so short that even being slightly off pace means that you will be caught and go a lap down. Bruno making what we believe will be their second to last stop. We are anticipating that Bruno is going to go soft to the end. There's no way that you could make a set of mediums last 25 minutes, I imagine. Which could make things interesting for ESV Green, who is your leader. Green has opened up a big gap on the rest of the field, except for Bruno. He's got the tires to finish this lap and go another lap afterwards. So I think we'll see Green make only 1 more stop, but he'll put on the mediums. That next stop will likely be his last one. And for the moment, Cartana once again cycles up into second. Bruno right ahead of Cavatro again. Pop Rocky has kind of fallen off. I think Pop Rocky is just about guaranteed to be 7th in this fight right now. So I think it is going to be Cavatro versus Cartana and Hot Dog in a fight for third. And I think it's going to be decided mostly off of distance penalties between them all. And again, when it comes to distance penalties, Hot Dog has none still. Still has about 11 laps or so to finish this. But if Hot Dog can maintain this no distance penalty run, this could have big impacts. Almost everyone ahead of them has significantly more distance penalties. Cartana and Green aren't massively offset on distance penalties, but almost everyone else has a lot of distance penalties. And look at this here. We're right on board with Cavatro. Right ahead of him is Bruno, and Bruno has a train of lapped cars ahead. Lap traffic having a gigantic, outstanding effect on this event right now. And Cartana's quite a ways up the road. He's basically leading this group of traffic at the moment. Okay, not really sure what happened there to Warner. Oh, Cavatro's gotten by Bruno. Something's happened to Bruno. Bruno's gone around in the middle of traffic, and VER Bruno has gone around. And suddenly now second place is up for grabs. And VER Bruno is going to fall way down the grid. He's going to lose a huge chunk of time. And possibly more significantly, this is going to take all the pressure off of the ESV team for the rest of the time here. Excuse me. I think that's going to finish it. ESV is easily going to win this stint and are going to have a massive advantage over the rest of the field now. Even if Green deals with some tire fall off as he is finally making his stop now, Green is not going to have to worry about being caught by anyone. But now second place is up for grabs. Could Cavatro maybe steal second place overall from Bruno at the end of this? We're going to go ahead and knock out our last ad break, and when we come back, we will be with this race to the end. Don't go away. We'll be back momentarily here for Catalunya. Second place is up for grabs to up as many as 6 different drivers right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Catalunya. 20 minutes left here in Stint 1. And if you like more GT3 endurance racing, don't you worry. About an hour after this is over, we will be back with Stint 2. And then an hour after that is over, we'll be back for Stint 3. And we still have 4 more hours of racing here at Catalunya with these cars. But this stint is still up for grabs right now. Drivers knocking out their final stops right now. This is a fight for 4th on track between F1R Pop Rocky and NDL CJ. And a little bit farther back, just behind them, coming down the straightaway, is Hot Dog, who might clip both of them off the back of distance penalties. Here comes CJ to the inside, Pop Rocky, neck and neck as they go deep under braking. Who's it gonna be? The rear of that Viper gets a little bit sideways into braking, and CJ moves up into 4th. Interestingly enough, Cavatro has closed the gap down a bit between himself and ESV Green. But again, we believe that Cavatro is going to make one more stop, and we'll throw on soft tires to the end here in about a lap or two. So he is going to lose time. The interesting one to watch is going to be this man here, Cartana. Cartana has made his final stop. We know that they are not going to have to pit again. They're likely on a set of medium tires, but they will stay on these mediums to the end. When the drivers ahead pit, where are they going to end up in relation to Cartana? That is going to be the big question. Hot Dog is going to be the other wild card. He still has no distance penalties, but is poised to have to maybe make one more stop, throw on some soft tires to the end of the run here. And if that ends up being the case, that could put him in a position where he has to dig deep and then hope that the distance penalties work out for him. Pop Rocky is going to have to pit very shortly, but he is going to be on soft tires to the end. We think he's likely going to be pitting this time by. That is exactly it. Pop Rocky is pitting this time. He's going to have to really be careful on the softs, but he has to push the softs to the end. This is NDL CJ who is likely going to pit. If he's on mediums and I missed something, he might be able to make it to the end. With the amount of fuel left, I don't think so. I think he's going to have to pit in the next 2 to 3 laps upon some soft tires and go to the end. And that will likely cycle him back behind Cartana. Then you have Bruno, who basically looked like he was going to be a lock for second place, but he has added up a lot more distance penalties, and while trying to navigate traffic, had a spin and went around. So now every spot up to second is up for grabs. Bruno, when it comes to his tire life, is going to have to pit one more time, put on another set of softs to the end. So he also is going to fall back quite a ways here. Again, the interesting thing is going to be Cartana. Paprocki has fallen well behind Cartana. So I think Paprocki is locked into 7th. I don't see a way that Paprocki can close back in and hold a spot higher than 7th, especially with all the distance penalties they have. So Cartana is now in 6th. How many more positions are they going to pick up? ESV Green is your leader. We are anticipating that Green put on a set of medium tires and will likely just stay out on track to the end here. Cavatro runs in 2nd. We believe that Cavatro is going to be pitting in the next lap or two, throw on soft tires, and hope that pure pace will get him a podium result here. But he has not made his stop yet. And behind is Bruno. Bruno nearly out of fuel. He likely will pit at the end of this lap or the lap right afterwards. So it's about somewhere between 13 and a half and 15 minutes left here. CJ and Hot Dog are the next 2 drivers. I'm really looking to see when they're going to stop. These 2 are going to be in a good position because when they pit, they can throw on soft tires and they do not have to worry about tire fall off at all. Hot Dog might have to worry about handling issues with the rear a bit, but he should not have to worry too much about tire fall off. Thing is, though, again, Hot Dog is going to end up behind Cartana. And Cartana is still in completely clean air right now. There is no one on track ahead. He is just clicking off laps. Everyone else ahead of him outside of Green and Cavatro are dealing with tire fall off. And Cavatro is actually starting to really close the gap down on ESV Green. Now, again, that's partially because he's almost out of fuel, so he has a really light car, and Green is on harder tires. But still, this is the first time that Green has really seriously been caught by someone who has not been Bruno. And reminder, Cavatro, this team is leading the championship, and they need to do everything they can to cover up the ESV team, because ESV is basically guaranteed to win every remaining stint and every remaining race in this championship. The better Cavatro finishes, though, the more of a cushion that they can afford to let the ESV team eat into. As they come across the line, it'll be a little less than 15 minutes to go. Cavatro will likely pit at the end of this lap. He's only got 3% left in the tank right now. Hot Dog is pitting. So how far behind Cartana is Hot Dog going to end up? That is the big question. CJ will likely pit next lap. And can Hot Dog get close enough to Cartana to snipe him for a position off the back of distance penalties? Cartana not yet at a 1/10 of a mile, but a 1/10 of a mile is still 528 feet. Now again, the gap's not quite that, but still it's about 500 feet. Can Hot Dog get within 500 feet of Cartana by the end of this? He's got 14 minutes to make something happen here. If you're gonna pit now so you can get the maximum advantage out of the soft tires in this run to the end here. Cartana now up into 5th. Bruno will have to pit this time. He just will not have the fuel to go a lot farther. Derluki and Chrysalid will pit out of 9th and 10th now. They have been in a little bit of a fight with Uzora for 8th overall. And there goes Cavatro into the pits, and he will be joined by Bruno. So I think Cavatro might be able to nip Bruno for 2nd overall here, or at least for the position between each other. But where's Cartana going to end up in relation to Cavatro and Bruno? This is the real wild card, is Cartana. He does not have to pit. He'll be on harder tires to the end, so he may have to defend, but he does not have to pit to the end here. CJ is pitting out of 4th as well. So how many of those 3 drivers in the pits will Cartana be able to pass? Cavatro coming out of pit lane now. Cartana coming down the front stretch right now. Come on, Cartana. Where is he going to end up? As they go down, he's going to clear CJ. He is still behind Bruno. No, I think he got him. He did it. Cartana has cleared VER Bruno. Now, Cavatro is still quite a ways up from Cartana, and Cavatro will be on soft tires. So I think Cavatro, if he doesn't get involved in an instant, should be able to take this home. The big thing, though, is going to be distance penalties. Cartana has an advantage on Cavatro in distance penalties. If something happens to Cavatro, if he's held up by a significant amount of time, Cartana might be able to snipe second from him. But right now, I think Cartana's real fight is going to be with Bruno. Cartana has track position and better distance penalty set up right now, but Bruno is going to have soft tires. And then you'll have CJ and Hot Dog. CJ is even farther back, and CJ is way off when it comes to distance penalty. So I see no way that CJ catches Bruno. He might be able to catch Cartana if Cartana is really that bad on the medium tires. But I think CJ, a shot to 3rd place is out of grasp. And then you have Hot Dog. Hot Dog is pitted, and Hot Dog is in cleaner air right now with no distance penalties with a little less than 12 minutes left. Hot Dog, I think, is setting himself up to clip CJ easily. I don't know if he's going to be able to clip Bruno, and he might, no guarantee, he might be able to clip Cartana depending on how slow Cartana is going to be on these old medium tires compared to the other drivers behind him on the fresher soft tires. Coming down to it, it'll be about 5 laps left here. Corvette versus Corvette. VER versus VER here. For the final podium spot, Bruno spent most of the stay in second, but a spin while trying to navigate traffic has taken second from him, but he still wants to be able to come home with at least a 3rd place result. But Cartana has had a solidly conservative day and wants to bring a 3rd place finish out of it. And the longer these two fight, it may bring Hot Dog into play. Not on track, mano-y-mano, but off the back of distance penalties. Here it comes! This is the move! Bruno, around the outside of Cartana. There is nothing that Cartana is able to do to fight back. Bruno clears the other VER driver with no issue. And Bruno goes back into the podium spots. We look at Green real quickly here. Thank you, game. 10 minutes remain, like you couldn't tell. Green will not struggle at all, and in the end, he is going to be about a quarter of a lap ahead of 2nd place. A little bit more when you factor in distance penalties as well. So it has been a strong performance, but not the absolute dominating deletion performance that we were anticipating from the ESV team. So if something happens, probably won't, but if something happens, the overall stint win is still in play. More importantly, though, Cavatro setting himself up to come home with a 2nd place result. As long as he does not add a bunch of extra distance penalties, he's going to bring home 2nd. Bruno still has to navigate traffic as he's trying to pull away from Cartana, and someone went off there. That was Neb, who has now gone 2 laps down, who went off. But Bruno has to navigate this last bit of traffic. He cannot afford to have another spin like he did last time. Gonna dive to the inside of the Mercedes and will clear the Mercedes without too much issue. Pulling up a calculator real quickly to try and figure out exactly how many feet Cartana is going to lose to Hot Dog. We know he's good against CJ, but the question is Cartana versus Hot Dog. We're looking at about 485 feet. So can Hot Dog get within 485 feet of Cartana? That is going to be the question. Bruno has cleared traffic. In fact, Bruno is actually setting himself up. He's trying to run down Cavacho here in these last few moments. Now, I don't know if that's going to be possible, but he's definitely trying to set himself up to run down Cavacho and clip second place at the very end here. If he can get within the rear bumper, if he can get within about 12 feet of Cavacho, he would steal second from him off distance penalties based off of where they are in distance penalties right now. Bruno's just out here trying to fight for merit, trying to recover from the spin earlier. Cavacho is fighting for a championship. So two radically different motivations right now. Cartana is really struggling trying to navigate lap traffic here, but he is going to get a little bit of clean air now going forward. CJ slides off there. That's not going to help him. And we'll bring Hot Dog closer. So CJ is basically guaranteed 6th. Hot Dog, 5th is definitely there. Could he get 4th, though? How much more ground is Cartana going to lose? The big thing is that Hot Dog has to deal with a bunch of traffic. Look at this traffic right now. Everyone who is not in the top 10 is a lap down at this stage of the event. That really puts in perspective how ridiculous this is. Nex was on a bad strategy. I think that's the main reason Nex is in. There is no sim damage in this series. It's only fuel and tire wear. All right, here comes Hot Dog passing that Ferrari for what probably feels like the 4th time today for him. Hot Dog still has a lot more traffic ahead to deal with. If Cartana holds on to 4th, it's going to come down just to what traffic ended up doing to keep Hot Dog behind. This Hot Dog is trying desperately to maintain his distance penalty advantage. Gap between 2nd and 3rd seems to have stabilized now. I think Bruno's knocked the best off of his tires, and he just has to manage it to the end here. Cavacho is still bleeding time, but not bleeding it off as fast as he was earlier. CJ still, and Hot Dog still struggling to deal with traffic here, with just about 5 minutes left here. The fight is for 4th. What can Hot Dog do to close in on Cartana? We look at Cartana, we look at the tires that he has left on his Corvette. He's in the 50% range right now. We look at Hot Dog, who is in the Ferrari on the soft tires. He is in the 45% range. He's got better tires, but only for about another lap or two. Thing is, we're only going to have about another 2 to 3 laps. This might be enough. I think Cartana is just barely going to be able to hold on to this. CJ is in between Cartana and Hot Dog. He is in between, but he is at a massive tire disadvantage. No, and Hot Dog! He gets a distance penalty. No one is going to get the bonus points for no distance penalty, and that basically secures Cartana's 4th place finish as well. So that's it. The final results are basically confirmed. No spots are going to change in the top 7. Your winner will be ESV Green. By default, he's going to win by about a 1/5 of a lap over Indio Cavacho, who is your points leader. Then after that, 3rd place will be VER Bruno. Bruno might actually lose 3rd to Cartana here off of distance penalties. 1 second, let's calculate that. There might be a freak change. Cartana might get Bruno here at the end. Yeah, if Cartana is within 427 feet of Bruno at the end, Cartana might still nip Bruno for 3rd. CJ is going to fall to 6th. Hot Dog is going to steal 5th. And Pop Rocky is going to be 7th here at the end of this. Derluki is going to be 9th. It looks like Origin is going to steal that from him in 8th. Uzora way back here in 10th. He might clip Crislin, we can't really tell. Then will be Hilfiger. Followed by Arkina, Drewski. Those two are really close to each other overall. Then Warner, Bunter, Nex, and Neb, who's going to be 2 laps down at the end of this. 2.5 minutes left to go here. Artana is falling off, but he might still be able to steal 3rd from Bruno here. CJ has just about caught Cartana, but the distance penalty means it won't really have an impact. At least for 4th. But it might deny Cartana's shot at getting Bruno. And while Hot Dog continues to close, I don't think he's closing enough to really clip him. 2 minutes left. CJ has caught him. Cartana is now the leader of this giant train of cars. With 1.5 minutes left, they'll finish this lap and have a little bit more of a lap afterwards. Bruno is gone, so yeah, any shot that Cartana had of still catching Bruno is basically done for. How aggressive is CJ gonna be? Is CJ gonna try and go big, go deep in the dive? He is! He goes deep in the dive! He pulls up alongside! Acura versus Corvette as they run uphill! And CJ clears Cartana. Again, distance penalty means that won't stick. How much closer can Hot Dog get, though, to Cartana? Less than 40 seconds left. Now Cartana has to deal with traffic behind. Faster traffic. That is the BMW M8 trying to harass him now. 22 seconds left. He gets touched and he nearly gets hooked. He nearly gets turned like what we saw happen to Bruno earlier. Is that enough for Hot Dog? 10 seconds left. Can Hot Dog clip Cartana for 5th position? As I look at the clock, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Time's up. Over. Plow. And at the end of it all, the fight for 5th will go down, and it will be Cartana who barely stays ahead of CJ. No, wait, I'm wrong. Hot Dog still clips CJ and Cartana. Hot Dog went all the way up to 4th at the end. So our top 3 unchanged as anticipated. But even with missing that bonus point, that was a great leap to 4th in the end there by the Ferrari entry. We're going to reach out to our top finishers and see if they have anything we want to say. We're also going to knock out one more ad break. And hopefully someone will talk to us when we come back here at Catalunya.